now I say this because it's obvious. Like, there are no risk factors to therapeutic use of testosterone. None. There's no risk. Everything's been debunked. And you still hear that. Like, people still, they can't. We talked about this earlier, like the cognitive dissonance, right? So
it's there. It's there.
Yeah, in this panel, or some of the reports, some of the other urologists or other doctors that are commenting on this panel, they can't take all the data and say, oh, okay, it looks like testosterone is safe, right? They have been inculcated in their whole life. They've been indoctrinated with this idea that testosterone is dangerous. So when they have conflicting data, now they'll justify all the actions they've had over the last 30 years. They have to justify that. They can't just suddenly flip the switch. So it's still like, well, you know, what did the one guy say? He said, there's no evidence that there's actually a reduction in people's testosterone levels. All these younger people taking it just want to look like superheroes. That was actually a quote from a urologist. There is clear data, very, very clear data that testosterone levels have been dropping. They're our testosterone levels are half what they used to be in 1970. We have testosterone levels there's no question about it. There's several studies that clearly show this data.
So there's two things there, right? The one thing is like, what would be so bad about looking like a superhero? Yeah. I'm not sure I understand that.
And why is it?
You know, I'd love to be 61 and look a little bit like a superhero. And I'm going to be okay with that. And I'm pretty sure my wife's going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems like a crazy thing for somebody to say. And by the way, for a legitimate, media publication to pick it up and say, like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You'd think that if somebody was going to argue against sort of what was going on at that panel, which, by the way, was a very serious FDA panel, with some very serious people on it, you'd think that if they were going to produce some sort of rebuttal, it would actually be fact-driven.
It would be factual.
Instead, it was these flippant kind of comments,
It was
right?
flippant comments that are wrong.